The entire history of Daniel Larson explained in under 12 minutes.
Daniel Larson was born on November 15, 1998 in Lancaster, California to parents Travis Larson and Elizabeth Scheimer. Not much is known about Travis Larson as he would dip out early and disown Daniel. Elizabeth, on the
There seems to be a trend with these crazy fucking people, dude. The dad always leaves. They're either really smart and know what's gonna happen, or they're the ones that caused everything.
other hand, was a special needs adoptive daughter of Nancy Scheimer. It's likely her conditions contributed to Daniel's numerous issues such as
One beer, one cig, one Rubik's Cube spear. Got it. All right.
autism, bipolar, and others. Elizabeth gave birth to twin girls too, but they would die a day after their birth.
Damn.
Growing up, Elizabeth would allegedly abuse and neglect Daniel, causing him to be taken and raised by Nancy and spent his developmental years at the Tennyson Center, where he would show good promise. Here he would meet Bob Proctor, who would engage in the center's reading buddy program with Daniel. The two bonded, and Bob would become a father figure to Daniel. At 18, Daniel would actually be arrested for assaulting his mother, who was in a wheelchair at the time, and put a restraining order on him. Growing up, Daniel showed great interest in singing and songwriting and idolized child stars such as Grace VanderWaal, which would end up manifesting in an extremely dark way. In 2019, Nancy would pass away. However, Daniel would still be able to find proper housing. He started his internet TikTok career with his first account at Daniel Larson Fans. Daniel would post about how he was running for president, and he'd gain a following of mild trolls who would egg him on, calling him Mr. President. There was also a period where his camera would fog up and he'd be completely unaware of it, which many people refer to as the fog. There were also several trolls posing as record labels who would trick Daniel into signing with them. If you haven't noticed yet, Daniel Larson is extremely gullible. These record labels would have him do things and say names such as Mike Hunt or Gabe Itch. In November 2020, Daniel Larson's Pinterest account was found, which contained hundreds of images of young girls in sexual positions. A video was also uncovered of Daniel in a group home pushing a young girl onto a bed while he was on top of her. From here, Daniel went from a mentally challenged oddball to a pedophilic horror cow who was a significant danger on the internet. Daniel would initially admit the Pinterest account was his. However, then he'd try to deny it by deleting it and pretending to not know what it is. Still, someone reported Danderson to the FBI and he announced that he was going to sue them. Daniel then went quiet for a long while and emerged under a new manager named Flexburger and a fake record label named Interstate Records. Flexburger, however, had intentions to further expose Daniel, posting even more damning proof of his pedophilic nature. One major takeaway of all this is Daniel was extremely obsessed with multiple celebrities since they were kids, sexually.
He looks like if a cartoon character came to life.
Mostly includes Grace VanderWaal, who he would end up stalking for years. Grace VanderWaal's mother would actually comment on one of Daniel's posts telling him to stop, but to no avail. Daniel Larson declared war on Flexburger, and Flex himself created a new alter ego named Josh, who would be his new manager. Josh would then convince Daniel that he was auditioning for an adult film, and during a TikTok live, Daniel would expose himself, getting his account permabanned. He never learns, does he? Around this time, trolls would impersonate Grace VanderWaal and message Daniel, deceiving him into thinking he was engaged with her. They managed to convince Daniel into doing extremely messed up things and filming it, such as sticking a toothbrush into his anus and then brushing his teeth.
What?
Oh god, dude, come on.
Did he actually?
Daniel would often abandon and then create new TikTok accounts because he'd either lose his phone or forget his password. Despite having a group home that many would kill for, Daniel would misbehave to the point where he would be kicked out. This would include assaulting his caretaker and destroying the place. He was now homeless. Daniel's health was absolutely terrible, getting trench foot, scabies, infections, and an extreme lack of hygiene. His fans were giving him donations, but he is absolutely terrible with
He had
money.
fans?
One time he used $500 to buy a fleshlight while still being homeless. He managed to get help under a new manager named Ox, who would handle his donations and spend his money more wisely, but eventually parted ways with Daniel due to Daniel's garbage behavior towards him and his pedophilic nature, of course. Daniel had a notable incident where he spoke at an open mic Black Lives Matter event where he gave a speech completely unrelated to the event.
Dude, I'm curious to see how that fucking turned out.
Black Lives Matter event where he gave a speech completely unrelated to the event, talking about how his grandma died because of his autism and his music career. He was cut off right as he was talking about his audition for the adult film. He then had another great housing deal with the Shield Foundation, but ruined it again because of his violent behavior and extreme entitlement complex, claiming he's owed everything because he's a celebrity and trashing the place after the staff refused to buy into his delusional fantasy land. Daniel was now back on the streets, showing his gratitude to his previous housing by calling them the N-word. Daniel would then seek help from Bob, interacting with him more, which led to an incident on December 2022 where he believed the motel he was staying at was threatening to kill him, and he was violently hitting himself and Bob while shrieking and wailing and accusing Bob of breaking his arm. He livestreamed the whole thing to TikTok. Bob would then give him a plane ticket to Los Angeles, many people believing he did this because he would get 5150'd and placed into special care. He would only get into more trouble though, where he would become infamous for dine and dashing, trespassing, loitering, and being unhygienic. He would spend half a year traveling through the US. He'd sleep in public washrooms, and every time he was accosted by security or staff, he'd whip out his phone and start arguing with them. My favorite is when he tried this in a Las Vegas casino and they didn't take any of his and threw him out of the building, where he wailed and cried and made false sexual assault allegations against the security. During his travel arc, Daniel would run into a fellow lolcow, World of T-shirts, and they'd do a little content together. In July 2023, Daniel would adopt a dog. This was horrifying to—
How is he not in jail, though? I don't fucking get it. How is he never locked up for any of the shit he did? Do you get, like, a free pass with crime if you're, like, retarded? Fuck.
Everyone knowing how Daniel can't even take care of himself, let alone a dog. And if the dog didn't die of neglect, he'd be abused by Daniel from his tendency to destroy things when he doesn't get his way. Thankfully, a couple of trolls devised a plan to take this dog away and give her actual secure shelter. This, of course, sent Daniel into a rage, where he went into a Walmart and trashed the place. He'd be arrested and placed in a mental health care unit for about a week. Afterwards, we were treated to two meltdowns. The first one was when he was talking with another troll impersonating Grace Vanderwaal, where he called Grace the N-word and then starting hitting himself schizophrenically. The second and more impactful one was a second incident involving him and Bob in a car. Basically, Daniel is completely glued to his phone all day, which irritates Bob when they hang out, so Daniel threw a complete bitch fit over Bob's simple request until Bob had enough and kicked the little bastard out. Afterwards, he called Bob the N-word again and falsely accused him of running him over while he raged out, destroying his entire motel room. At least this one didn't threaten to kill him this time. Bob would gradually stop interacting with Daniel from this point forward.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
In September 2023, Daniel went to college. Well, specifically, a couple of trolls who were legit students at University of Colorado Boulder invited him and tricked him into thinking that he was being given a full-ride scholarship and that Coach Deion Sanders wanted to visit him. When trying to visit him, Daniel would assault a security guard, which got him arrested, but he was let out literally just 2 days later.
Why?
Afterwards, Daniel would get a haircut, specifically a reverse mohawk done by trolls who'd shave the middle of his head and then just leave. This would be a turbulent arc in Daniel's life. It started out with the Panera Bread meltdown. This time, a bystander would be filming Daniel in all of his glory, screaming, hitting himself, calling the manager the N-word, trying to punch the manager. It's one of the most explosive meltdowns in Daniel Larson's history. Somehow, Daniel was not arrested, but he was banned from entering any Panera Bread restaurant going forward. After this incident, Daniel would enter an Olive Garden and make an absolute scene because trolls were telling
Dude, that'd be a fucking nightmare if you work somewhere and you had to like trespass, and because somebody like that, if you get into a physical altercation with them, you'd have to worry about like fucking, I'd be worried about hepatitis or HIV or some weird shit like that. Like, who knows if you get into a fight and he bleeds on you and you, whatever the fuck he's got in his system gets in yours. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's something people don't really think about when they get like into fights and shit like that. It's like if they bleed and your blood, you know, mixes together, you got what they got. So I wouldn't even want to touch this fucking guy.
him that the employees were printing out nude pictures of him, that Grace Vanderwall was outside being arrested and being beaten by cops, and other nonsense that Daniel bought into hook, line, and sinker. Daniel acted extremely rudely, demanding a table for 8, swearing at the staff, attempting to perform a citizen's arrest, and even pulling the fire alarm after his live chat told him to. Daniel was hit with a trespass notice and charges for this incident. Shortly after, Daniel was put in jail for charges of evasion of justice.
About
he
fucking
spent a
time.
total of 4 weeks here. He was now under a new manager named Clark, who pretended to be a lawyer for Grace Vanderwall. Clark is considered to be a lolcow in his own right, and is considered to be Daniel's worst enabler. In January 2024, he would deceive Daniel into thinking that he was now enrolled in UCLA online courses for entertainment business.
Dude.
These classes were entirely fabricated by trolls feeding him the most ridiculous misinformation, which I'm
Lot lizards. Famous. What the fuck? Hiroshima.
online courses for entertainment business. These classes were entirely fabricated
First king of ancient Texas. Ishid unfarted.
by trolls feeding him the
Roots of gigantism.
most ridiculous
Genres of music: classical, pop, rap, nature sound.
misinformation, which I'm just going to show
This
on
is
the
fucking hilarious, dude.
In April 2024, Daniel would be deceived into thinking that he had a Buffalo Wild Wings interview and was inevitably kicked out. The meltdown that ensued was catastrophic. It contained all the Daniel Larson classics, such as screaming, hitting things, the
Dude, he has
angry tongue,
rabies?
the N-word. Yeah, you get the point. But more importantly, it involved Daniel making violent threats towards the government, specifically with bombs and killing. This would be the straw
Yeah,
that
what's
broke
up,
the
bro?
camel's back.
Hell yeah, dude.
Daniel's initial arrest was for courtesy housing for another agency. He was then transferred to a federal institution indefinitely and hit with several federal charges, which carry a maximum sentence of 65 years total. During his stay in jail, Daniel was communicating with
Bro, that's so crazy to me that he can do all this fucked up shit to like businesses and people and like children and like assault the elderly, fucking sexually assault kids and all that shit, and nothing really happened to him. Nothing like serious. But all of a sudden he makes threats towards the fucking government. Oh, now you're in big trouble. That's fucked up. Isn't that fucking crazy how that works? Like, they don't give a fuck about the regular people, but oh, once you say something bad about the government, now you're in trouble, man. It's like fucking backwards, bro.
Clark, who eventually confessed that everything he was doing was a complete troll. Daniel didn't internalize this, though, as he would go back to casually talking with him as if nothing happened.
Count
He would
Drink-
also talk to a new
Dankula?
troll named Lil Sippy, who's a
sounds
degenerate
familiar.
in his own ways. Daniel basically has no grasp of the seriousness of this situation, as he thought he'd be released after a couple of months. Instead, he's been institutionalized indefinitely and still awaits a court date. So far, he's been deemed incompetent to stand trial a few times already, likely
Yeah, no
due to him
shit.
still believing he's going to marry Grace Vanderwell and he's going to participate in a world tour with his music. The last time we heard from him was December 1st, 2024, and we're likely not going to hear from him again for a long time.
Dude, these are the videos that like no matter what I'm going through, I can watch this shit and I just feel immediately better about my living situation and stuff like that. I feel immediately better about my level of intelligence and my living situation and who I am as a person. Because there's people out there like this that exist.